Follow us for breaking news. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us for breaking news on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube.
Do you have a business that you want people to know about? Imagine placing your brand in front of an audience that's already engaged and locked in. With over 154 million views monthly across YouTube and Facebook, and over 5 million views daily on both platforms, based on official analytics. Now we're bringing that same audience to I.A.N. News. If they've seen your products on the I.A.N. show, imagine the impact when they see them on the news. Reserve your spot in the news and book your monthly packages now.
Every weekday at 7 p.m., the news goes live on the I.A.N. network. Watch us on our available providers with more coming soon. Also available on YouTube and Facebook. The news you have been waiting for is now here.
Do you have original, compelling content? Then we're looking for you. Contact us at the I.A.N. network, and you can become one of our exclusive contributing creators. Be a part of creating history with Trinidad and Tobago's newest TV network, the I.A.N. network. It's the only place where you can find real content on real matters from real people. So if you've got what it takes, reach out to us now.
Have a 30 or 60-minute television show? Don't let your message go unheard. Whether it's religion, sports, health, food, or human interest, there's never been a better time to get your program on television. Join Trinidad and Tobago's newest TV network, the I.A.N. network, where real content, real matters, and real people connect with audiences every day. Prime airtime is filling fast. Secure your weekly broadcast today and put your brand, ministry, business, or message in front of viewers across the nation. Call now to book your airtime, share your story, build your audience, inspire a nation. The I.A.N. network. Your platform starts here.
Do you have breaking news, community news, and upcoming events? Contact our newsroom at 226-1-IAN. or 259-4-IAN. Or email us at iannetworknews@gmail.com.
You can now follow us for breaking news on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Follow us for breaking news. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us for breaking news on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube.
Do you have a business that you want people to know about? Imagine placing your brand in front of an audience that's already engaged and locked in. With over 154 million views monthly across YouTube and Facebook, and over 5 million views daily on both platforms, based on official analytics. Now we're bringing that same audience to I.A.N. News. If they've seen your products on the I.A.N. show, imagine the impact when they see them on the news. Reserve your spot in the news and book your monthly packages now.
Every weekday at 7 p.m., the news goes live on the I.A.N. network. Watch us on our available providers with more coming soon. Also available on YouTube and Facebook. The news you have been waiting for is now here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amber Francis. This is your I.A.N. News. Making the headlines this evening.
Trinidad and Tobago records 5 murders in 48 hours. Stuart Young warns of Queen's Park Savannah green space destruction. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State to visit TNT. And in sport, Sunil Narayan helps TKR to a winning start in their CPL opener.
5 people were killed within 48 hours in Trinidad and Tobago. The murders took place at Duncan Street, Port of Spain, Wallerfield, Arima, Calvary Hill, Arima, and Textile Hill, Belmont. More in this report.
The murders began shortly after 1 p.m. on Friday at the Duncan Street housing development in Port of Spain, when Ricardo Flats, also known as Half-Breed, was found injured at the apartment. Flats was taken to the Port of Spain General Hospital. However, he was pronounced dead at 2:35 p.m. On Saturday, a man identified as Sifo, a watchman from the Malabar area, was keeping watch at a vegetable stall near Komoto Lights. Police reported he was found dead at around 2 a.m. A double murder was recorded at Calvary Hill, Arima. 3 men who were seated in a car were victims of a drive-by shooting. Dead are Ishmael Vincent, also known as Yam, and another man identified by the alias Rambo. The driver who was shot is hospitalized. In the latest incident, at approximately 3:04 p.m. today, Belmont police responded to a report and found a body on the roadway at Textile Hill, Lady Young Road. The victim, 41-year-old Kwasi Dion Gill, had been reported missing after leaving his Beetham Gardens home at approximately 10 p.m. on Friday in his white Toyota car. Police believe Gill was murdered sometime overnight on Friday into the early hours of Saturday.
Opposition MP for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, Stuart Young, is demanding answers from the government over construction activity taking place in the Queen's Park Savannah. Young said he was surprised to see what appears to be a significant structure being erected opposite President's House in Port of Spain, along with piles of aggregate and a steamroller at the site. Celine Bansilal has this report.
Opposition MP Stuart Young is seeking urgent answers from the government on what appears to be a significant structure being erected opposite President's House, accompanied by piles of aggregate and a steamroller in Port of Spain. In an interview with I.A.N News on Sunday, the MP questioned the purpose of the structure and wants to know which government agency or contractor is responsible for the work.
What is the purpose of what is being erected? Are they intending to pave the grass spaces of the savannah? And if so, why? And for what reason? And I suspect, and I'm asking the question, I'm not rushing into anything, that it may be related to a scale-back Independence Day parade. So
Young says the public deserves clarity on what is taking place in one of the country's most prominent open spaces. He also raised concerns on whether the work could affect the savannah's green spaces.
Any permanent infrastructure or construction will damage the green space of the savannah. But in fairness, from what I saw, it appeared to be the erection of something that is temporary. But
when asked if he expects the government to give a response within a reasonable time frame to these concerns, this is what the MP had to say.
Well, we have seen that this government operates in a manner of no accountability and transparency. So I have asked the questions. I can't force them to respond, but the population is looking on at this being another incident of something being forced upon us as citizens. So I will wait. Let's hear what they have to say. And if we don't hear anything within the next 48 hours, I will then do what is necessary.
Although MP Young did not clarify on what he deems necessary, he maintained that government must provide answers for the work being done at the Queen's Park Savannah. Celine Bansilal, I.A.N News.
United States Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau has arrived in Trinidad as the two countries seek to deepen cooperation and strengthen bilateral relations. The official part of the visit is set to run until August 10th. According to a media release, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is expected to lead discussions with Landau during his official visit. The ministry says the visit reflects progress in strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's alliance with the United States and translating the relationship into practical opportunities. Discussions are expected to focus on advancing cooperation between both governments, with the Bissau administration saying it remains committed to ensuring that closer ties with the United States deliver meaningful and lasting benefits to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Landau's visit comes as Trinidad and Tobago continues to strengthen its engagement with Washington, particularly in areas of mutual interest. In other news, Aruca Lopino MP and PNM Chairman Marvin Gonzalez says the party rejects racial politics in all its forms. We have more in this report.
In a media release today responding to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissau's recent post on social media using a racial slur to describe herself, Gonzalez stated, quote, "The racial implications of statements attributed to the Prime Minister should be confronted directly and honestly. They should not simply be absorbed into a general narrative that all political leaders are equally responsible for the racial animosity now becoming increasingly pervasive in our national community," end quote. He noted that the party will defend its movement without attacking the racial identity of citizens and advise PNM members and supporters to not take the bait and engage in racial attacks against UNC members or supporters. Celine Bansilal, I.A.N. News.
We now take a short break. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Do you have breaking news, community news, and upcoming events? Contact our newsroom at 226-1-I.A.N. or 259-4-I.A.N. Or email us at iannetworknews@gmail.com.
Fair and Square, conveniently located near the Endeavor Chaguanas flyover. Shop now for all back-to-school and vacation essentials. We carry the widest variety at the best prices. Discover incredible value and a shopping experience that's fast, easy, and affordable. Fair and Square, your one-stop shop for all your household needs with safe and convenient parking. Any and everything all under one roof.
2 murders recorded in Trinidad and Tobago this year came from altercations, revenge attacks, and domestic disputes, not organized gang warfare. According to figures cited by the Prime Minister, altercations accounted for 40 murders, revenge for 30, and domestic disputes for 12.
Since 2024, altercations, revenge, and domestic disputes have been linked to 371 lives lost. Many began as everyday disagreements that escalated beyond control. Some erupted suddenly, fueled by anger, jealousy, alcohol, or drugs. A few seconds of lost control created permanent consequences for entire families. Gang violence can be attacked differently. Security services can identify criminal networks, locate weapons, target known offenders, and disrupt planned activity. The figures show progress. Gang-related murders fell from 273 in 2024 to 122 in 2025 and 78 so far this year. That decline shows the impact of stronger national security operations under the state of emergency. But police cannot make personal choices for citizens. Years ago, the Archbishop of Port of Spain asked where all this anger was coming from and how ordinary citizens were helping to increase it. The country is reducing gang violence. Saving more lives now requires restraint, forgiveness, and the courage to walk away. Let love have the last word.
We're back with the news on the I.A.N. network.
Welcome back. A 23-year-old Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force member is among 5 home invasion suspects who were held in the Southwestern Division on Saturday. More in this report.
According to a police press release at 3:45 a.m. on Saturday, a man was in his gallery at K-Trace Mendes Village, Saparia, when he was approached by 4 masked men, where one of them had a firearm.
The men forced the victim into the house where he was restrained. They then ransacked the room and took a cell phone and jewelry. The suspects fled in a white Toyota Aqua. Police went to the home where they interviewed the victim. Meanwhile, at the scene, the officers received a report of another home invasion in the area. At the second scene, a man said at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, he was sitting in the living room with his mother when 3 masked men entered the house. He was instructed to lie on the ground with his hands restrained, while his mother was instructed to remain seated. The suspects ransacked the bedrooms and took a Scotiabank card, a box of jewelry, 2 mobile devices, and $3,000. The suspects fled in the same Toyota Aqua. CCTV footage showed a black Nissan Kicks traveling in convoy with the Toyota Aqua. A broadcast was sent out, and moments later, officers of the Highway Patrol Unit spotted the black Nissan Kicks traveling north in the vicinity of the Gasparilla overpass. The vehicle was stopped and searched, where officers recovered the victim's cell phones and jewelry. The driver, a 23-year-old Defense Force member of Dookie Street Penal, was arrested. 4 other suspects were held. They are a 38-year-old man of Latches Road Penal, an 18-year-old man of Smart Avenue Penal, another 18-year-old man of Dookie Street Penal, and a 21-year-old man of Concession Road Silots, Port of Spain. Inquiries are continuing. Celine Bansilal, I.A.N. News.
While citizens give mixed reviews on the recent announcement by Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath that the government is preparing to impose water restrictions as the country braces for a prolonged dry spell, I.A.N. News took to South Park in Taruba and asked citizens, how do you feel about the upcoming water restrictions announced by the minister on Friday? Here's what they had to say.
On Friday, Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath, alongside the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service, spoke at a Water and Sewerage Authority press conference in Port of Spain, confirming the water restrictions due to the El Niño conditions, which would bring below average rainfall, higher temperatures, and longer dry spells that could extend into next year. Some citizens agreed with the water restrictions being put in place, noting that the measures are necessary to conserve water.
I mean, some measures have to be put in place. It's something out of our control, so I guess it's reasonable to ask.
Probably they have to implement that to kind of control the water system now. And a lot of people need to be safe in water. A lot of people taking long showers. They're washing wares and the water running. They're brushing the teeth and water running also. So I think that is something probably they have to implement. Otherwise, it could lead to probably a drought.
While others believe that other measures should be put in place so citizens' water usage will not be disrupted.
It is very hard taken that WASA will have or put the country in such a situation. Billions of dollars have been spent into WASA, for decades. And WASA restructuring and policies should really be steering the population away from such a situation. We're finding ourselves in a water drought. And I said against a backdrop that we are a country that's surrounded by water. And so therefore, we shouldn't be finding ourselves in such a situation where there's a drought or asking our citizens to ration the water.
In my opinion, dry spell or not, it shouldn't have a restriction on water. It's a necessity for living. It shouldn't have a reason that it have families who have to go and get water from other places when it should just be available in their homes.
With the threat of water shortages looming, the government says it has already begun expanding storage capacity across the country.
The Prison Officers Association is calling for movement on several outstanding issues between the association and the Chief Personnel Officer's office. The association says negotiations remain at a standstill, with a number of grievances still unresolved and some matters becoming increasingly time-sensitive. Celine Bansilal tells us more.
General Secretary of the Prison Officers Association, Lester Logie,
says the association met with the CPO's office in February this year where several matters were raised. According to Logie, the association was informed that while an offer had been made under the previous administration, no instructions had been issued under the new finance minister to allow negotiations to move forward. He says another point of contention was the inclusion of the public sector investment program in the settlement proposal.
The association does not sign for a public sector investment program. I think it was a project, a public sector investment program for $5 million to fix the prison training college, which is in a state of disrepair. Right? That we had no, we were not in agreement with that being in our proposal.
Logie says while some issues have been addressed directly by the government, several matters remain outstanding. These include concerns surrounding retirement, the officer's health plan, paid vacation leave, and a letter of understanding. The association says the prolonged negotiations are also creating additional challenges for its membership.
The longer the negotiations take, the basket of goods you could purchase diminishes. So that is an outstanding issue in terms of settling these negotiations as soon as possible and trying to bring it up current to current.
The association also has a number of grievances before the CPO's office. Logie says at least 3 have been acknowledged and are considered time sensitive. Among them are unmet grants, compensation for uniforms not received between 2019 and 2025, and outstanding allowances for uniforms. Logie also raised concerns surrounding the process when an officer dies while in service, particularly where disputes remain unresolved.
When our officer died in service, the association agreed to a $2,000 funeral grant, and we were informed that by the officers, the deceased officers' families, some of them that to date they haven't received the $2,000 funeral grant. So that is another grievance we have put by the CPO. Well, the grievance have a procedure. It will escalate if the CPO doesn't resolve it. In our interests, we will move it on to the special tribunal.
For the association, the issue is not only about reaching a settlement, but ensuring that long-standing commitments and conditions affecting prison officers are brought up to date. Celine Bansilal, I.A.N. News.
President Christine Kangaloo has paid tribute to cultural icon and artistic polymath Willi Chen, who died at 91 on Friday. Here's more.
The president in a Facebook post extended condolences to the family, friends, colleagues, and all those who were inspired by Chen's life and work. Kangaloo said, Mr. Chen's life was distinguished by an extraordinary breadth of creative and practical endeavor. As a sculptor, painter, playwright, writer, stage designer, architect, engineer, inventor, and entrepreneur, he applied his imagination and ingenuity across a remarkable range of disciplines. Largely self-taught, he worked with materials as varied as steel, wood, and concrete, while also finding expressions through theater and the written word. Chen's most famous works include Solar Marinorama and the monumental steel sculpture at the Central Bank, the triumphant Christ mural at Christ the King Roman Catholic Church in San Fernando, and the Escriva Lighthouse Tower in Pointe-à-Pierre. His literary work includes short stories, plays, and novels giving voice to the people, places, and experiences of Trinidad and Tobago. He was recognized with the Hummingbird Medal Silver in 1989 and the Chukonia Medal Silver in 2006.
As Trinidad and Tobago joins the international community in observing the United Nations International Day of the World's Indigenous People, opposition leader Penelope Beckles is reaffirming her commitment to the country's First Peoples community. Here's more.
In a statement on Sunday, opposition leader Penelope Beckles says the nation's First Peoples are not a footnote to its history, but rather its foundation. She says the observance holds particular significance for her, given the presence of the Santa Rosa First Peoples community in the constituency. The opposition leader says the nation has made progress in recognizing its indigenous population, pointing to the establishment of the October 13th public holiday in 2017 and the 2019 reburial of ancestral remains. However, Beckles argues that recognition without redress is not enough. She says there is now a need to move beyond past achievements and address outstanding issues facing the First Peoples community. She outlined 5 priorities which she believes would guide continued support for the community. These include advancing permanent legal recognition of the Santa Rosa First Peoples community and aligning national policy with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Beckles also called for the completion and proper funding of the First Peoples Heritage Village in Arima as a national heritage site. She also wants First Peoples history and cultural knowledge incorporated into the national education curriculum. The opposition leader says the First Peoples are part of Trinidad and Tobago's national inheritance and has pledged that their place at the foundation of the nation will continue to be defended. Celine Bansilal, I.A.N. News.
No Pollard, no Puran, no problem. The Trinbago Knight Riders have gotten off to a winning start in the defense of their CPL title with a 19-run DLS win over the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots in a rain-affected contest. Let's check out some of the action from Saturday night at the Arnos Vale ground.
The Caribbean Premier League has finally landed in St. Vincent despite not having a franchise. But the fans were not able to see 2 of Trinbago Knight Riders' most experienced and accomplished players in skipper Nicholas Puran and former skipper Kyron Pollard, who have commitments to fulfill at the 100 tournament in England. That final is carded for next week Sunday. Nevertheless, they got to see one of the greatest bowlers in full flight, Sunil Narain. He surprisingly opened the bowling alongside skipper Akil Hossain, who sent the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots into bat at the Arnos Vale ground. Narain took 2 wickets in the second over, with Patriots having just 8 runs on the board. Johnson Charles provided resistance at the top of the order, albeit with a measured approach. But Narain wouldn't let the opposition get going as he claimed his 3rd scalp 16 for 3. Kevin Wickham, who joined Charles in the middle, top scored with 38 for his team. Charles departed for 21, giving Jid Gooley his wicket. Then it was a turn of the Pacers with Terence Hines and Dominic Drakes, who took 3 and 2 wickets respectively. A rain delay gave a brief reprieve for the Patriots before they mustered a meager 109 for 9. The Knight Riders were aggressive with the chase, looking to erase that total as soon as they can. The Patriots took the wickets of openers Alex Hales and Colin Monroe to give them something to cheer about. 34 for 2, but little to celebrate thereafter. Joshua De Silva then made 18 before retiring hurt. Matthew Bresky contributed an unbeaten 35 and Jid Gooley was on 2 not out when the rains came to force a premature end to this contest. TKR on 94 for 2 after 15 overs, taking the 19-run win via the Duckworth-Lewis system over the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots, and the 2 points to start their CPL game. Sunil Narain was named Player of the Match.
The Trinbago Knight Riders next play on Saturday against the Jamaican Kingsmen at Sabina Park in Jamaica. Tonight, the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons face off against the St. Lucia Kings at the Arnos Vale ground in St. Vincent. A win for the Falcons can see them take an early lead in the standings, having already beaten the Jamaican Kingsmen in their opener, while this is the first game for the St. Lucia Kings. Trinidad and Tobago finished medal-less at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Eugene, Oregon. TNT were in 2 finals today in hopes of a podium finish but fell short in the sprint relays. In the men's final, Team TTO placed 5th, while the women 4x1 quartet were 8th on their final. Little rest for McKellen Woods at the Under-20 Championships, who finished 4th last evening in the men's 200-meter final. Running out of lane 4, Woods clocked a time of 20.58 seconds, barely missing the bronze medal. Let's take in his race.
Away, Taylor okay, Hamilton flew out. Taylor's running a good bend. He gets up to E-Day. Woods inside of him. Out wide, Card into the straight. Hamilton just leads. Taylor goes up to him. Card running well. Taylor's taken the lead. Hamilton can't go with him. Now it's all about the time. How fast is he? Oh, it's 19.8.
The United States government has announced a US $85.5 million investment in Guyana's bauxite industry. More in our regional roundup.
The United States Department of War will invest US $85.5 million to acquire and expand a bauxite mine in Guyana. The agreement, announced by the Department's Economic Defense Unit alongside the Office of the Assistant Secretary of War for Industrial Base Policy, channels funding through the Industrial Base Analysis and Sustainment Program. U.S. officials described the deal as a direct response to American reliance on Chinese-controlled sources for refractory-grade bauxite, a material used in high-temperature components such as heat shields, turbine engines, and missile parts. United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, held a 20-year-old Haitian national in Massachusetts who is facing criminal charges including possession of child pornography, indecent assault and battery, and extortion. Pierre-Andy Jean-Louis, ICE's Boston field office said, was nabbed during a vehicle stop in Fall River, Massachusetts. Jean-Louis has pending charges for possession of child pornography, indecent assault and battery on a person over 14. And extortion by threat of injury. There is no person more disturbing than one who stands accused of preying upon the most innocent members of our communities, said David Wesling, Acting Director of ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, Boston Field Office.
Typhoon Dolphin made landfall in densely populated eastern China this evening, meteorological authorities said, after the storm triggered more than 1,000 flight cancellations, 1 million evacuations, and a top-level alert. More in our international news roundup.
The storm packed maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour near its center at landfall, equivalent to a Category 1 hurricane. Typhoon Dolphin made landfall in densely populated eastern China on Sunday, meteorological authorities said, after the storm triggered more than 1,000 flight cancellations, 1 million evacuations, and a top-level alert. China's east coast had been preparing for the storm's arrival in recent days, with work and transport services suspended in some areas along its predicted path. The center of the typhoon moved over the coastline near I.A.N city in Zhejiang province at about 5:30 p.m., China's National Meteorological Center said in an online post. Maximum wind speeds near the center were more than 150 kilometers per hour at the time it made landfall, the NMC said. Parts of the central and eastern Zhejiang could receive 250 to 500 millimeters of rain. Authorities relocated more than 900,000 residents from the city of Huizhou and opened more than 1,000 emergency shelters.
A new term is gaining international recognition in the fight against gender-based violence. The United Nations Human Rights Council has formally recognized reproductive violence as a distinct form of gender-based violence. More supporters say help will bring greater attention to violations that have often been overlooked. So what does this term actually mean and why the decision is being described as a milestone? Here's more.
For many people, violence is associated with physical assault or sexual abuse. But experts say there's another form of harm that centers on something much more personal: the ability to make decisions about your own reproductive health and future. The United Nations Human Rights Council, during its 62nd session, formally recognized reproductive violence as its own category within gender-based violence, giving the issue greater international visibility. Rights activists say giving this form of abuse an internationally recognized name makes it easier to identify, document, and address, while strengthening calls for survivor support and accountability. Dr. Diane Paulido, Global Technical Lead at International Parenthood Federation and Humanitarian, agrees and extends a comment saying, "The focus must now be on turning this progress into stronger protection, survivor-centered services, and accountability."
It's now time for the weather forecast. The Met Office says tonight Trinidad and Tobago will be mostly clear with 1 or 2 brief showers in a few areas. Tomorrow's sunny conditions will be interrupted by brief showers, mostly during the early morning and late afternoon periods. Seas are slight to moderate with waves 1 meter to 1.5 meter in open waters and below 1 meter in sheltered areas. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Amber Francis. Thanks for watching, good night, and have a great week ahead.